You know, looking back on this, you and I know blues was born in the South. It was born through slavery, sharecropping, oppression, Jim Crow. Do you think that some of the political and economic and social oppressions that were happening behind the Iron Curtain when you were growing, do you think that might have been a reason why people heard the blues and felt it?
I think America has to do the most with it, this
Okay.
picture
So-
about Americans. You can say that people can feel blues being repressed, and of course, the worst time of Serbian Milosevic regime was way later, not in
yeah,
the 70s. In the
90s.
70s, we had Tito, you remember?
Yes,
we were
yes.
free to, well, I don't remember the time, but,
No, but right.
they were free to travel, and they lived very good.
Right, but when you were
they
a
can be the thing.
Yeah, but when you were a
but when I was a
teenager-
teenager, there was definitely Milosevic and the worst times for
Sure.
Serbia, and the student demonstrations and
Bombings and
bombings,
ethnic cleansing.
10 years of very, very hard life.
right.
People that were only able to live good and their families only if they're part of the regime,
Right.
which is communistic regime.
Sure.
So if you can't stand it,
Yeah.
that's your problem, because that's the only way you can survive.
Right.
And those kind of really dark times, I wrote about that in my on my record, Still Making History,
Yes,
about
I know.
endless student demonstrations,
Yes, yeah,
about
yeah.
hard times.
Do you think-
Don't trust no shadow of the dark and stuff like that.
That's right. Do you think at those times then that people found comfort in the blues, or they felt that the blues spoke to them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an art form.
Yeah.
Art is the only way out
Yeah.
in those kind of times.
That's
if you
right.
have something that really inspires you, and for some people that's blues, definitely that's the way you want to turn. But blues musicians, they are really influenced by American music.
Yes.
It just clicks with somebody,
Yeah.
and with some other people don't. And my dad used to say that in the 70s there was one radio station, which is Radio Luxembourg somewhere, and then you would catch that maybe, and they were waiting for that hour just to hear blues, and that
Wow.
was the only time, and then they would swap the records, and
Right.
somebody who would go to America would bring some records, and they would change and exchange
Right.
stuff. And nowadays you can be born anywhere and listen to blues if
That's
you want,
right.
which is you log on and you
That's
listen
right. And that's
to
what I was
everything.
just going to say. Some kid tonight is going to watch you, or when they edit this, is going to watch your guitar techniques, and he's going to sit down and he's going to press pause
Yes.
and slow down. How did you learn the guitar techniques of the blues from the Albert Collinses and the Buddy Guys and the B.B. Kings?
Records.
Off of records.
Records.
Constant practice.
Practice, and I would always change the record. I realized at a very early age that I don't want to sound like anybody else, and there were a lot of guitar players that would sound exactly like Jimmy Vaughan,
Right.
exactly like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I thought that was not fair.
Yeah.
First to the artist, and then to yourself.
Right.
And I just don't. I'm not very impressed by being famous, or being, I don't know. The best thing for me would be creating my own style.
Right.
If that goes across to the audience or not, that's another thing, but I would be satisfied with my art if
Right.
I would find my own sound and style.
That's right.
And that was from the start. I mean, I never thought I would be a musician in the first place. I thought that was just too good to be true.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to have a backup plan, which I did. I'm a graphic designer, and
Right.
never worked a day in a studio, but
Yeah.
at least I can, it's a backup plan.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to change the record, so I would start with Albert King, and that was one of my first solos. I think I'll play the blues for you.
Yeah.
And then I would change right away to Collins, and then I would practice, get his licks, and then I would change to Stevie, and change to
Right.
Robert Cray, and all
Yeah.
of the other. What I was interested ever since the beginning of the playing guitar was phrasing, because I think there is not a lot you can do as a guitar player with sound. As a blues guitar player, it has to stay bluesy.
Right.
You cannot get all kinds of effects and stuff. It has to somewhere stay bluesy. You cannot do a lot with rhythm. It has to be shuffle. It
Yeah.
has to be jumping. It
Yeah,
has
yeah,
to be
yeah.
slow blues. It has to be somewhere there, but it can be rhythmical, and you can do a lot with phrasing, because that's something, Robert Cray, people like Robert Cray got it very early, and
That's
they
right.
stick to their own phrasing, and whenever you hear it,
You
it's
know it.
Robert,
That's right.
or anybody else. So I wanted to change the record and find where's my phrasing in between all these guitar players.
Right. And through 7 CDs, 3 with Roof, 3 now with Eclecto Groove, have you found that phrasing that
It's a never-ending process, I would think, but I'm closer than I was before.
It's elusive, I would think, too.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's somewhere something you have in your head, but it's got to match and it's got to fit the band, the songs, the time, whatever. But I'm closer than before.
Yeah, yeah. Do the different producers on these CDs? What have you learned from all of them in 7 CDs? You know, Jim Gaines, David Z, John Porter. How have they helped shape Anna Popovic?
Well, you know, every producer is fabulous in a couple of things, you know, just like an artist. Artist is never perfect. And they all are wonderful. I think Jim Gaines is very good with the guitar sounds.
Okay.
I think he's a master for guitar sounds.
Yeah.
I think Porter is master for voice.
Voice, okay.
You know, I think David Z is a master for production. When he feels the song, like if songs moves him, like for example, I did a Steely Dan cover, and you know he's a fun guy, and he loved that, and the way he mixed that, man, those are the sounds, and there's you know things are happening, it's just fabulous. But you know, I think I would go at one point to the if I would know really good my producers, I would dare to do what Santana did, just have a producer for every song, and I think I would find a song that fits the producer. You know what I mean? Some are more blues, and put an accent on the guitar playing, on the guitar sound, and then some are more jazzy. You know, can do jazzy better. John Porter is fabulous for jazz. You know, the voice is wonderfully produced. But of course, this is all a learning process to me, and it still is.
And you're still a baby.
And you know, and I don't think it ever will stop. But I like to I record all my records in America. That's one, because it's still a very much learning process. I like to record with American musicians as well as with my band. I have a wonderful band, and stage-wise, they are the best around.
That's good.
I couldn't imagine playing with anybody else at this moment. They give me so much energy. They know me so well. They lift the whole thing up. And I feed off of their energy. You know, on stage. I go somewhere. That's the whole idea of unconditional. Behind unconditional is that actually on stage I really feel that I am on that place. Like a lot of journalists ask me, like, where are you when you close your eyes? You know what happens. And this is really what I search for. This is the reason I play live. Is really searching for that moment to happen. And my band is fabulous for stage, and then for studio, I'm still not against using studio musicians, great studio musicians, especially when it's about blues, because I wanna get deep. If I play blues, you know, I want to get deep, and I still learn.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have a tremendous jazz background. I mean, we're talking blues, but I know when you went to the conservatory in Holland to study when you were 20, maybe?
22,
20, you had a great blues foundation, and then this jazz door opened for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I heard Ronnie Earl when I was about 16, and Ronnie knows that because I told him several times. And you know, he just
only lives
blew my
about an
mind.
hour from here. You know,
no, that was fabulous, and I just didn't know what was happening. It was when I was about 16, 17. I started playing off of Sonny Landret's records and Ronnie Earl. So Sonny for slide, Ronnie for fingers playing, and wow, this was jazzy, but it's not jazz, you know, it's just on the edge. And I thought, that's cool. I got all his licks, not all his licks, but everything I could, I got it down. And it was, you know, I wanted to get deeper and know what was happening with the changes, and I actually didn't want to really steal anybody's licks. That was from the start, as I told you, I just hated that. I hated not being able to create my own licks that's going to be recognizable. So I decided to go and study jazz. And I think I stopped at the right moment as well. After 2.5 years, it was the time, because there's a whole new world out there on the jazz conservatories that we don't know nothing about. But it's a dangerous thing also. Very dangerous step, because I've known many friends of mine that came there as a blues guitar player or rock or whatever, and they kind of really lost their path, lost their way, and at the end you really need to feel jazz, you need to know jazz, you need to want to be a jazz guitar player and work very hard to become one. But if you're not set completely to that and you are somewhere in between, then you wasted your best years of your career trying to become a jazz player, and after 5 years you are insecure. A lot of insecure people doing their final exams, you know, a lot of teachers that look like that, and they, you know, you paid 5 years of that
You
school.
gave up a dream.
You gave up
Yeah.
a dream,
Yeah.
and you don't have one positive thing to tell me. You just, I really saw this happen so many times.
Yeah.
Just tell there's this teacher, professor, and he says, well, it's a 7. And that's
right.
a comment that you
Yeah.
get. That's the only comment
right,
you
right.
get after 5 years. Just
Yeah.
tell, your arrangements were good, or your
Right,
sound
right.
is good, your
Yeah.
band is good.
Right.
Just
That's a
anything.
7. That's a 7.
5 years of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
I never got to that point.
Right.
Because I was never there, and I couldn't finish the studies. But
Right. Yeah.
it was time to stop also,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it did somewhere took me off of the path. So I needed to come back and listen to roots and stuff like that. Although it was really deep inside me, but I did take me off my path. It also opened up my broadened my visions, and as far as sound and arrangements and technique,
approach,
of course.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you need to really grab that thing, the reason that you got into music,
Sure.
and hold it tight
Yeah.
if you decide to go to conservatory. And pick out of the school what you want,
Right.
not the other way around.
That's right,
Don't
that's
let
right.
them take you where they want. You need to know exactly what you want from that school.
Right.
And
Yeah.